Have you finished pampering yourself?
Pampering? You call that pampering, just going like that? That's not pampering.
That was like
Paul.
5 minutes.
That's just preparing oneself, building up. I hope it doesn't get bright out there.
It's not going to get bright out there.
Because otherwise we're going to bleach out, which isn't always a bad thing.
Oh dear.
Welcome, bloody welcome. Thank you for tuning in on this cold day. It's cold.
It's cold.
Welcome to summer in the UK.
Traditional summer, I think.
Traditional summer of 18 degrees.
I thought
today.
you were going to say of like 1854 or something like that. Maybe it was. Maybe it was. Yeah.
Well, it's interesting, isn't it? Because, yeah.
And my train of thought was, what's interesting? What really interesting thing are you just about to espouse?
Well, yeah, like it's the weather.
Yeah,
It's
just
nice
like...
and cold. Hold on, let's just rewind. So welcome, bloody thank you for tuning in.
Sunday chat!
To the show which is called that.
Yeah.
And thank you for choosing to subscribe to our channel. And if you're not already subscribed, hit the subscribe button. Join us for fun and frolics on a regular basis here on Richard and Paul. And remember, if you want it all, watch Richard and Paul.
You're really segueing to Moira today, aren't you? You are.
Myra Rose. Yeah.
Oh, we
Anyway.
do love Schitt's Creek.
Yeah.
We really do.
Anyway, so first of all, it's Richard and Paul's weather report.
Yeah.
And I was going to say it's interesting because Europe is baking.
Southern Europe.
Well, yeah. Europe. And we're in the cold, and it's due to the jet stream. That ribbon of high wind that circulates the globe.
So it's sort of sweeping over southern England at the moment, isn't it? And it's keeping the cold down over us.
Well, it's allowing the cold
to come down. Yeah.
And it's keeping the warmth away.
Yeah. So it really does feel quite cool. I mean, it's about 18 degrees, but this time of year we'd be expecting it to be a few degrees, maybe 4, 5 degrees more than that as standard. But it just feels so cold. I mean, it doesn't feel, freezing, but it is cold. It's quite bizarre how everything is relative as we go through the year. And because we've had lots of hot weather recently, it just feels cold now, doesn't it?
Yeah, I have to slip my hands under Paul's thighs to warm them up. Ooh, that's lovely.
They are warm, yeah.
Warm thighs.
Yeah, yeah.
There's nothing like a warm thigh
Somebody else's warm thighs.
to
Yeah.
heat one's hands on a cold day.
Yeah.
Don't buy expensive electric hand warmers. Just use somebody's thighs.
Maybe I could rent out my thighs.
But get their permission first.
Well, yeah, or pay them. Yeah. Or get their permission and pay them. Yeah, that would be better, wouldn't it? Yeah. But yeah, and we are due, it's Saturday, so we're recording this Saturday, we're due buckets of rain today. The whole of the UK is going to be swept by rain, particularly sort of Wales and the Midlands and Scotland. But we're due some over the next 6 hours as well. It'll be interesting to see if we get it and it goes over to Vivi. Because even though we're only 17 miles apart, very often we'll say to Vivi, are you enjoying this rain? And she'll go, yes, I've had 2 spots of rain. That's it so far.
Well, I think it's interesting because also this area where we live is relatively flat.
Yeah.
Because there are some small hills. You've got what's it called? Horsenden Hills and Harrow. Yeah. There are parts of Ealing that are fairly hilly, but relatively looking out towards Heathrow, it's pretty flat. So, I think Vivi's is hillier
Yeah, it is, definitely.
around that side
Yeah.
of South London. There's lots of vantage points when we drive over to see Vivi. There's lots of hilly areas and vantage points that look out over the city.
Yeah.
So I don't know whether that probably affects rainfall.
Oh, well, I mean, it will do, won't it? Because
Yeah.
the clouds will sort of lift as they go over higher ground. So, yeah, definitely. Though the other day, it came in from the other way. It came in sort of from the southeast. So she got rain. We were on the phone having a chat. And she said, oh, it's starting to rain. It's bucketing down. And I went, oh, great. And I looked over because from our top window, we can see towards where Vivi lives. And absolutely, it was sort of really grey and dark over that way.
But I think also we forget how localised weather can be in terms of showers, because clouds do bubble up locally,
Yeah.
don't they?
Well, I mean, just around here, half a mile away, you cannot get rain where we have rain here. So it can be very local.
Yeah.
Super local.
Super local.
But yeah, and I think it's going to continue sort of like this for a while, isn't it? Certainly sort of cooler weather.
All this week is cool.
Yeah.
And with, potential for rain. Anywho.
There we are.
We
need
get
rain.
on.
We
do.
need rain for the garden. The garden's
do.
sort of quite dry for the
It's
allotment.
very dry, the back garden.
It saves watering the courgettes, cucumbers, tomatoes, all of that. But we do need some warmth. The plants really benefit from having warmth at this time of year.
Well, not just the bloody plants, the people too.
Oh yeah, you can really be a moaning Minnie, can't you, when you're a bit cold, can't you?
Cold?
Yes.
Look, I prefer to be on the cool side than too warm, because I don't function very well in hot weather. But this is taking the biscuit, really.
Oh, that's a good saying, isn't it? What is taking the biscuit? Is it going to be like one of those sort of sayings that comes from the Marines about the sea biscuit or something like that?
What?
Taking the biscuit.
The sea biscuit?
Yeah, they
What's
used to have sea biscuits.
I
didn't
nearly
they?
swore
Dry
then.
sea biscuits. Yeah.
Nearly swore.
Oh, that's naughty.
I nearly said
Oh!
I was going to say, what the is a sea biscuit? Wasn't that the name of a horse?
Well, it was the name of a horse, yeah.
Wasn't there a film about it? Sea biscuit?
Yeah, there was. Was it a famous horse that won a race?
I don't know.
something?
You're thinking of doodahs.
Biscuits.
What are they called?
The biscuits that they took on
that used
journeys.
to get infected with
Weevils.
and things.
Yum, yum, yum.
Shit.
Extra protein. Ship's biscuits.
I don't know. Who cares?
Yeah.
Let's get on with the show. Let's look at the book
Mm.
and see what we have to talk about that's interesting. Make it interesting.
I'm now intrigued about sea biscuit.
Sailor's cookies.
What were they called?
That could be something else.
It could be.
Shush now, Paul. You're out of control.
I don't think I am. Oh.
So, Heist update. There is no update.
Well, we were going to have a viewing yesterday,
Yeah.
but the person got delayed, so it's being put back to next week.
Yeah.
So we've actually had a sort of quiet. Well, you did all the cleaning and everything, so
I did all
everything
the
had to be
prep
done.
ready.
Yeah. And then an hour or so before.
Well,
yeah.
at least they let the estate agent know,
Yeah.
rather than causing a complete no-show with no
Yeah.
explanation.
Which we've only had one, which I think is pretty good.
Yeah.
Over about 20 or so we've had, haven't we?
Yeah.
So, I mean, the slightly good news on the interest front, the mortgage interest front, is that mortgage interest rates have started to stabilise and drop a few decimal points. So that's good news. But of course, the Bank of England will most probably ruin all of that next month.
Well,
so.
Thames Water are putting their prices up, we heard.
Yeah. Well, ours we've had notice ours is going up by a third. In fact, just over a third. Yeah.
And that's because of their failure to manage their finances.
No, it's not.
Isn't it?
No. They have managed the finances for the shareholders really, really well, because they've loaded the company with debt and given the shareholders lots of dividends.
Well, I don't think that's managing finance very well. So
It's
my
not
point
managing
stands.
it morally. Yeah, absolutely. It's not managing it morally. Yeah.
Bastards. So, that's it on the house. We will share more updates as they come, but the housing market is fairly slow at the moment.
Yeah, pretty flat. Flat.
But what can we do? Everything's cool. We've got extension on the mortgage, so that's fine. We can continue to pay it as we have, so everything's cool.
Which is good.
It is good. So, how was the working week? Well, yet again, I've worked extra hours. So that's good. That's a good thing for us. Extra cash.
Financially good.
Financially.
Yeah.
Time-wise, it's not great. We've not been out for any trips this week.
No.
Although we couldn't last week because the exhaust needed to be fixed on the car, which I'm pleased to say has been done.
Yeah.
Paul dropped it off at the garage the other day and got that sorted. We needed a new section on the exhaust, and that's been done.
£400 later, that's been done. Yeah. But that's it with vehicles, and there's upkeep to them.
We do have a little fund. We do have a little fund put aside to deal with that, which actually is from the money that my dad left me when he died. So that's good that we've got that put aside and untouched. So that's paid for that, which is great. So yeah.
And on money, I did get a response from Orany, which I will share at one point. It looks as though we're going to get a refund on those additional tickets that we had to buy from Blue Islands. Though Orany has told me that, Blue Islands haven't told me that. I haven't heard from them yet. So that would be £350 back. So fingers crossed on that. I did send a 4-page letter to Orany, and I'll be going back to them tomorrow, on Monday, because even though I did get a reply to my letter, the points in my letter weren't actually answered. So I will be asking for them to be answered. Yeah.
Lovely, Paul. Thank you for that. And in breaking news, my lips are dry.
Should that be cracking news rather than breaking news?
No breaking news, Paul. And of course, what do I do when my lips are dry?
Stuff a banana on them. You could mash it up and put banana on, couldn't you?
Wouldn't look very attractive, would it?
Banana mouth. There we are. Yeah. Sounds exciting. But what are you going to put on your lips, Richard?
What do I reach for, everybody?
Vivibalm.
Vivibalm. Sorry, but they are dry. So, you carry on while I...
Well, what's next? What are we talking about now? What has my working week been like?
Yes, Paul.
So there's been a lot going on with the Great Green Barn, which is a separate company to For Her Sake, but it's again Vanessa's company. So there's been a lot of work going on there. Alexa, please stop. Because the whole of the barn, or most of the barn, is now plastered inside with lime mortar. The floor is now dry with lime mortar, so that's the base. And the bricks have been laid. Half of the bricks have been laid this week down there. So that's really, really good. I'm going down sometime next week or the week after, and hopefully the floor will be fully laid, which will be absolutely fantastic. And we're starting to do I'm starting to write all the documentation that needs to go with hiring that place and getting licenses in order, because it's going to be an eco and sustainable event space that we're going to put on events there. I don't mean Richard and Paul, I mean...
Why not? We could
Great
do
Green Barn.
Richard
We
and
could
Paul's
do.
live review.
We could do. We might do one
Not sure
live
what
from there.
we would do.
But it's also going to be from next year. Other organisations who are eco organisations, sustainable organisations, will be able to hire it as well. So there's a lot of licenses and paperwork and, signing up to various things that need to be done. The website is now just a holding page. That's greatgreenbarn.com. That's just a holding page for the moment, and we're obviously going to be adding to it. And it's also on Instagram at Great Green Barn.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know.
No, so
Why
there
aren't
we
they
are.
following us?
Because I don't think I have yet.
Oh, are you managing the Instagram?
It's being managed by a couple of people, so that's really good. Yeah.
Good.
So there's been quite a lot of that. I've been slowly. My head has been getting back into a space where I've been able to start doing some writing. So I'm pleased about that.
Good.
And that's been my working week. And of course, then Richard comes home from work, and I make him a cup of tea, which is also part of my working week.
Well, it's lovely, Paul, that you do that, because I do appreciate the tea when I get in from my hard day at work. I just can't go on. No, I mean, work for me can be quite exhausting.
Yeah.
There's a lot of input at work. You're constantly dealing with stuff that's coming in. Receiving.
As a receptionist.
As a receptionist, of course. So sometimes when you get in, you just don't want any input. You just don't want to do anything other than scroll.
And drink tea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, it's quite therapeutic to scroll occasionally, watching mindless rubbish.
Yeah.
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 Like you are now.
Yeah. Exactly.
So there we are. Lovely, Paul.
Why do you keep on touching my legs?
Because I'm putting my foot between your legs.
Because they're warm. Right.
Even though I've got
that.
though I've got thermal socks on.
Yeah. So my calves are being sort of chilled to the bone now. Yeah, while they're warming his feet.
I do feel quite tired today, I have to say.
Well, you had a bit of a lie-in, didn't you?
I feel a bit,
I think it's also the weather. When it's sort of sunny, I mean, you can feel tired with the heat, of course. But when it's sunny, it seems to give you so much more energy, just generally. And when it's grey and dull, you just sort of... I feel like sitting on the sofa watching a black and white Saturday afternoon film.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I feel like doing.
So what are our plans? What was that?
I don't know.
I saw something.
Oh, maybe it was a squirrel.
Maybe it was a UFO. I'm really into UFOs at the moment.
Yeah.
No, I am.
Yeah.
I want them to come down and take me. I'll go.
Yeah, I do as well.
Take me now.
Take him, please.
Take me to the galaxy.
Which galaxy?
Whatever galaxy.
Galaxy chocolate.
Yes, please. No, I'm really into watching videos about UFOs and things, because there have been some really unexplained aerial phenomena recently, in recent years, which is really interesting. Yeah, so there you go.
There we go, yeah. And
other things.
Oh dear.
So, Paul,
Where were we?
it's time for our news segment.
What's that?
What's been your moment of joy this week?
Oh,
What has
no,
been?
there was a lovely moment of joy actually.
What was it, Paul?
Several years ago, when we were at Vivi's, I think this was when we were in our social bubble.
Oh yeah, during COVID.
In her calendula bed, there was this calendula that had a really pale yellow colour. It wasn't orange, it was pale, like a lemon. It was like straw yellow, it was gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous. And I said, oh, it would be lovely to have some seeds from that. And Vivi saved some seeds for me and gave them to me. And the other day I had scattered the seeds and not many had come up, and I think this was a while ago. But then I saw the palest yellow calendula in full bloom when I went down to the plot. I think it was on Tuesday, and it was just absolutely glorious, and it really made me smile. And of course, as things do when they have a memory linked to them, it took me back to looking at that calendula in her calendula bed on a very hot summer's day. That was my moment of joy.
Aww.
Other than seeing you every day, of course. What was your moment of joy this week, Richard?
Well, thank you very much for asking, Paul. I appreciate that.
That wasn't fun. Oh dear.
My moment of joy. Searching. I'll be one moment. Loading.
Yeah, that's what you should say.
My moment of joy this week was discovering that there were some ginger nut biscuits at work.
How many did you have?
6. And 3 fruit shortcakes and 3 digestives.
You are joking.
No. All that weight loss.
What, through the week?
All that weight loss.
Through the week you had that?
No, that was within an hour.
You are joking.
In fact, probably within 10 minutes, I would have thought.
And was that without a coffee or anything? You just...
Oh, I don't drink tea and coffee at work. No, I just eat the dry biscuits on their own.
So you had like 10 or 11 biscuits?
A biscuit a minute, yeah. That weight loss.
Oh dear.
Say goodbye to that weight loss, I tell you.
Lidl did have an offer on of a free box of ice cream. So I got some mini ones because I thought they would be nice just to have as a sort of like a mouthful. So they're in the freezer, and we're going to have those over the next sort of 6 years, something like that.
6 minutes.
And then our friend who'd also been to Lidl, who doesn't have a freezer, turned up on our doorstep yesterday with a box of 6 large ones. So I think you're going to be demolishing those.
Well, the large ones are a sensible size, Paul. The small ones, I mean, that was less than 30 seconds.
It was less calories though. That's the good thing. It's a treat. It's a treat without being too many calories.
Calories, schmalories. Oh, really? I'm so over that weight loss journey now. My weight loss journey finished.
Mine continues.
No, I'm not over it. It's just sometimes
that jam donut is calling to you.
Wow.
All the biscuits.
The deprivation. Really. And I don't want to lose any more weight now.
No, well I'm
happy with the weight loss.
I'm giving him sort of extra portions now so that he's eating a bit more than I am.
Well, sometimes I just feel a bit lacking in energy.
Yeah.
Because I think I use my energy in a different way than you do. In fact, I feel it
asleep.
now. I'm feeling it now.
Yeah.
Actually, I got to that point in the morning where breakfast has worn off and I'm ready for a mid-morning snack.
Well, we're going to have lunch after this, so you're not going to have a snack because we're going to have lunch.
I'll just have to start eating the Vivi Balm.
Calendula
No,
chocolate.
I do feel a bit now.
What, you feel a bit faint?
Yeah.
Oh dear.
Anyway.
Yeah.
Let's get on.
So did you? I can't. Yeah. Oh no, your moment of joy was 6 ginger nuts. Yeah. Yeah, 6 ginger nuts would be a moment of joy.
Yeah.
Wouldn't it? Yeah.
Oh, it was discovery. It was the discovery that they were in there because I'd not seen them because they were at the bottom of the box.
Oh, and it's really interesting this because sometimes when you know in a relationship, sometimes one person will bring the other person flowers, or you know a bottle of wine or a box of chocolate, something like that. And this week, Richard brought me 20 packets of double cream crackers.
Because they're about to go out of date and they won't get eaten. That's why I brought them home.
You brought me out of date cream crackers.
Yeah. Well, look, they're going to go in the bin. I can't bear the thought of all those crackers going in the bin, so we need to eat them all within the next week.
Flowers might be nice.
Flowers die.
Cream crackers get eaten.
Yeah, but they provide energy,
There we
heat,
are. There we are.
warmth
There
and
we are.
light
Yeah.
if you put them in the fire.
Do you remember there used to be cream cracker eating contests? There used to be a contest of how many cream crackers somebody could eat without having a drink. I'm not sure if I mean it always seemed really dangerous for choking and things like that.
I think that was a dream you
No,
had.
it wasn't. It wasn't. It was a thing I think in the 70s.
As a greedy child.
Maybe it was. I've always liked cream crackers, but yeah, I'm sure it was a thing. I'm sure they were sort of cream cracker eating.
Google it.
Yeah. How many
Google
cream
it.
crackers can you eat in like 4 minutes or something?
My granny used to give us cream crackers with butter and Marmite as our supper
Oh,
when
yeah.
we used to stay with them.
Oh yeah, Guernsey butter and Marmite. Oh yes, please.
Oh, I'm starting to salivate. It's almost time for lunch. Come on, quick, let's move on to the next segment because I gotta eat, honey. I gotta
Oh
eat.
dear. What is the next segment?
It's the next segment, the final segment of today's shorter show.
Is it?
Yeah, it's slightly shorter this week.
Right, okay.
Is what have we watched on television this week? Because we've got a couple of things to talk about. TV-wise.
Ooh, yes, what did we watch? What did we watch at the beginning of the week? Well, we've watched Sister Boniface, haven't we, as sort of ongoing. We've watched our usuals.
Murder, She Wrote.
Father Brown. Sister Boniface.
Yeah, you said that.
I know. And we watched... What else have we watched?
So, we treated ourselves to... What?
We treated ourselves, did we?
We treated ourselves to the Wham. Well, we didn't treat ourselves because it was free with Netflix. The Wham documentary on Netflix, which is the story of the pop duo Wham in the 80s. If you're not fans of Wham, then I apologise.
Why?
I was never really a big Wham fan.
Oh, I was a big Wham fan.
And neither was I a big George Michael fan.
I
to
was
be
a
honest.
big George Michael fan.
It wasn't really my cup of tea, although I had a couple of the singles, and you know it was quite fun at the time.
Club Tropicana. I mean,
had
just
Club
classic.
Tropicana. I think I had Bad Boys as a single.
Bad Boys, yeah, but Careless Whisper.
But anyway, so this is the story of their rise to fame in the 80s. They were huge.
Their struggle.
Absolutely huge.
Their struggle, their early life, their struggle, and their rise to fame.
But it was just really interesting because you take a trip down memory lane. I think we must have been around the age of 14 at the time. So, you know, it hit us right at that moment where you go for that kind of stuff. You're still discovering your musical tastes. And Alexa, please stop. So we both sort of thought this would appeal to us, you know, so we watched it and it did appeal to us because it was really interesting. And it was actually really well made.
Yeah.
You know, if you watch it, you will see.
I was amazed at how much content there was.
Yeah.
From their you know early from the early gestations of Wham, you know, and when they met and how it all sort of came together.
Yeah, there was quite a lot of videotape and you know, interviews and stuff. But for me, it was quite emotional.
Yeah.
But for me, there was one moment that triggered my emotional response, and it was where they show the beginning of the video of Careless Whisper. And it's clearly been edited, or it's an edited version, and the music is slightly different. It's pared down. But the video was so crisp. And whether it's because we're watching in HD, I don't know. But it was so crisp and clear. And it's George Michael singing. And I was suddenly... There was a moment where I realised that, you know, how it must be to have your moments captured on film or video from when you're young, and it be so crisp and clear and vibrant. It was almost breathtaking. You know, this young man singing so strongly and so clearly, and it to just be captured in that moment. It just took my breath away, and you know, the emotional response was quite clear to me. You know, I sort of gulped, and then of course you're hit by the fact that he died at the age of 53.
Which isn't covered in the documentary.
No, of course not, because it's about Wham. You know, but it just really, I don't know, it took my breath away, and yeah.
What I mean, I was tearful a couple of times through it, and I thought what was really interesting is seeing how balanced their relationship was. Even though they were both talented, there was a huge talent of songwriting from George, and Andrew had a real drive for them to enjoy life and be successful. And I think it was the two of them together, which it wouldn't have happened with other people, I don't think. It was really their friendship and their differences that made it work.
And I think also you saw how they both came alive with each other.
Yeah.
You know, how they smiled and interacted with each other. There was such a genuine connection there between them, such a deep friendship. And that was really beautiful to see and witness. So yeah, I thought it was great. We really enjoyed it, didn't we?
Absolutely. It was a well put together documentary.
And I know a lot of other people have enjoyed it as well, and it's really inspired them. And you know, it's also a promotional vehicle for the band, which still sells records. And indeed they have I think a big box set is out now.
Right.
Of their work, which somebody at work said they bought the vinyl version of it, and it's really beautiful. So yeah, that was a really interesting show to watch. We also treated ourselves to a movie on Amazon Prime. May as well get the most out of our Prime membership, which again is something else which has gone up.
Yeah.
I can't believe they took my money without telling me that the price had gone up.
I'm sure they did tell you.
Well, I didn't see the email. Amazon.
So it was Moonfall.
Yeah.
Which I've been wanting to watch for a while. It's got Halle Berry in it, and Donald Sutherland is in it briefly.
Yeah, very briefly.
The guy from the Electric Girls. The father's in it.
Electric Girls? I don't know what that is.
The Power.
Oh, right.
The Power, he's in it.
The father?
Yeah. Anyway, apparently it's the most expensive independent movie ever made. It was about $140 million, which is significant. I sort of thought it was a vanity project because it felt as if a sort of Russian oligarch's son wanted to write and direct a film, and he was pretty good, and it was all funded by Dad. That's what it felt like. But when I looked it up, it wasn't like that at all. But you felt it was really, really Hollywood.
I thought it was very Hollywood, yeah, very formulaic Hollywood movie. You know, everything's gonna be destroyed and then they're gonna save the day.
And in that sense it was, but I sort of felt it did have the feel of an independent film, and I think a different director would have cut quite a lot out of it.
Well, I found the guy that saved the day in the end, who was also providing the comic relief.
Which wasn't that comic most of the time.
Well, I felt that was a bit misguided, really. I didn't think it felt right. I would have preferred if they'd gone into a more cerebral vibe for the movie, which they didn't. You know how Interstellar, Contact, movies like that have a cerebral vibe to them where you're trying to work out the whole meaning of it. It didn't go as far as it could with that in terms of knowing more about the moon.
Yeah.
We won't say anything in case you've not seen it, but the moon is significant in this, and the moon as an entity is significant, albeit an engineered entity. We didn't learn any more about that, really, and I would have liked more about that. But of course, it did leave it open for a sequel.
Yeah, but it was a box office flop, so...
Yeah, so we kind of enjoyed it. The effects are really good. The CGI is very convincing.
It was one of those things that you wanted to know what happened next, basically. It did take you through, if you see what I mean. There wasn't any moment where I thought, I'll give up here. There were a few moments where I thought, is this really necessary?
It kept me awake.
Yeah, it did keep you awake. That is something.
You know, and I can't say that it was super great as a movie, but it was watchable.
Yeah.
But to me, it was very Hollywood. It was classic Hollywood disaster movie.
Yeah, I think they were sort of really going for the family audience and trying to get the younger audience with that comedy as well. But I think it would have been better not really being a family-driven film. It would have been better if it was sort of like late teens upwards, I think. So, yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, it was worth a watch. We have also watched a series on...
Channel 5 it was
Channel
on.
5.
It's actually streaming on Paramount as well.
We watched the pilot of this show a while back, didn't we?
Over about a year ago or more, and we did mention it here.
It's called La Brea, and it's basically about a sinkhole that opens up and what happens afterwards.
It opens in Los Angeles.
I mean, it's kept us watching, but it's typical, what I call US afternoon viewing.
Yeah, I think that's a bit unfair to it because I think it's higher caliber and higher finance than afternoon viewing, but it does have that sort of feel to it.
Well, they'll be in the middle of a disastrous moment.
Yeah, about to die.
Time is of the essence, and they really must run to save their lives. They'll be in one of those moments, and somebody will say, "Oh, Jack, but before we run for our lives, I've just got to tell you I had an affair with John." And I couldn't tell you because I knew of what your reaction would be. And they get into this deep conversation about a love affair.
And everything else outside just stops, you know.
And they need to be running for their lives. That can wait.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's kind of like that vibe, you know. And they'll keep on doing it. We've got to get to the top of the hill. We've got to push the child into the light to save everybody. But before we do, I got to tell you about my ingrowing toenail.
Yeah.
You know, and
And
no.
the continuity in terms of timeline is a bit jagged as well. And it's a bit confusing. At one point they have to get to the caves to get somewhere, and then for the next 10 minutes they're still running through sort of wasteland, and you think, weren't you supposed to be going to the caves? And then suddenly the caves appear.
Yeah, and then suddenly they'll be like in the caves, and half of the party can't go through the cave because of a disaster that's occurred in the cave.
Yeah.
So they say, we'll see you at the top of the mountain. And then they're at the top of the mountain. They've all managed to rendezvous, no problem whatsoever.
Perfectly.
You know, but it has entertained us.
It's engaged and entertained,
and
definitely.
there is a second season, which we will no doubt watch.
Yes, and that is streaming at the moment on Paramount.
Oh, there's my washing machine.
No, there is.
Time to finish. I've got to put the washing out. Bye. We also watched one of the Tomb Raider films.
Well, we watched Tomb Raider, the reboot, which I think was made over 10 years ago now, wasn't it? Or 6 years ago or something. And entertaining.
It was entertaining. And what was the trademark change that occurred?
Wasn't it a prequel, you told me?
What is the trademark change that has occurred?
Boobs.
Yeah, the boobs are smaller. Because there was a complaint, wasn't there, that the boobs, it was all too video...
Lara Croft.
Well, Lara's known in her video games for her curvy figure, shall we say. And
was it Angelina Jolie?
Angelina played her first, didn't she? Yeah. So they've reduced the boobage, which, you know, yeah, I think they've got a point, really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jugs can be too big. Yeah.
I did play the video game.
Unless you're on Drag Race.
In fact, I've still got the video game.
Have you?
Yeah. Shall we play it later, Paul?
No.
No. Why
I'm not
You
really
might quite enjoy
into
it.
video games. I was doing Wolverine. You bought me Wolverine like 25 years
but
ago
you
or
got
something,
stuck,
and I got
didn't
stuck,
you? You got stuck.
and I couldn't get past somewhere.
progress.
So it was like, oh yeah, nah.
You have to persevere, Paul, when you get stuck on a video game.
No.
Some video games aren't satisfying enough.
Panzer Dragoon, I like that.
Yeah, but even so, you
I
couldn't
like
play it
Panzer.
very well.
No, I wasn't. I'm not
I
a
was a
video game
whiz.
person. I used to like Dungeons and Dragons. I was a gnome. I was always a gnome. I had hairy feet. Yeah. Where were we before I
We also
segue?
continued with the Joanna Lumley
Oh yeah.
Spice
Yeah.
Trail Adventures.
So light it floats
Floats
above
off the
your
screen.
television.
But
Yeah.
it was Madagascar, wasn't it?
It was.
Madagascar.
And
Yeah,
what I
it fills
never
an hour.
realised is how much vanilla pods are handled by other people.
Yeah. You.
But what I was fascinated by from a sort of plant and biological perspective is that the vanilla plant needs to be hand pollinated.
Yeah.
And I find this astonishing.
With a cocktail stick.
Well, yeah, basically with a pointy thing, because you've got to pull down the petals and push this up, and it's got to click into place, and then it sort of pollinates itself. And I'm just astonished that something like that exists that isn't naturally pollinated, and I'm going to have to do some Googling on that, because I just can't see how did it survive for millennia
But
and
look at the
develop.
markup, though, and look at the difference
Yeah.
between currencies. You
Yeah.
know, they were saying, oh, we're going to sell this for 220,000 doodars.
Yeah, which
whatever
was
they're-
26 quid.
No, 35.
35 was
wasn't
it?
it?
And it was a big bundle, maybe sort of like 100,
Yeah.
120 vanilla
Pods.
pods
And then you buy them in the supermarket for like
£3.
a pound a pod.
Yeah, £3 for two.
In a plastic tube.
Yeah.
Huh?
So it goes from, £35 for, let's say, 100 to £3 for two. I mean, that markup is enormous.
Yeah.
And literally, it goes. When we say it goes through different people's hands, in trading, it goes through a whole host of people to get to you buying it in the shop. But literally, people's hands and them sniffing it, and it's like,
You
didn't know that. Didn't know that.
Did you wash your hands? None of you did.
But there's also a cocoa. She visits a cocoa plantation as well, and that's really interesting. Cacao. And I did have raw cacao once at historic royal palaces, because that is the first known sort of trial that people eating. There's actually a chocolate court at Hampton Court Palace, and that is the first sort of documented eating of chocolate, if you like.
But it doesn't taste like chocolate. It bears no resemblance to chocolate.
No,
does it?
when it's raw, when it's in its pod state,
It's like a fruit.
It's a fruit, yeah. And it needs processing. It needs cooking.
There we are. Lovely. Now I think it's time for us to go and have some lunch.
Is it?
I'm really hungry now.
He's really hungry now. Yeah.
I'm not at the passing out stage just yet.
Well, I'm glad about that. Yeah.
But
it's
will
not
be
started
soon.
raining yet. I thought it would be raining by the time we'd finished recording this.
Lovely.
But no, it's not.
So that's super duper. Thank you very much.
And it's quite interesting you saying super duper, because that is what we are going to be having for lunch.
Soup.
We're having courgette and potato soup. I did put some tomato into it as well.
Lovely.
So yeah, we're going to warm that up and have that.
Delicious. Thank you. Thank you for watching. Thank you for following us. Blah, blah, blah. Sincerely.
Do it in sincerely face. Isn't that a constipated face?
Bye for now.
Bye.
Take care. Tout le pip au revoir.